Welcome. It is no accident that you have found your way to the Release the Genie podcast. What would you do with 3 wishes? And what if you discovered that you are, in fact, that very genie that could grant them? Well, join us now as we discover who our next genie is as we listen in and learn the stories of triumph, inspiration, and passion with some very special guests. And now, without further delay, your host of the Release the Genie podcast, Mr. Paul Rogers.
So hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're tuning in from. Oh my God, we've got such a creative talent here today. Julia Towers, and I met her only a few weeks ago, but she's had such a big impact on my thinking and the creative direction. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this lovely lady, and then we're going to get into it. So Julia Towers is a writer, development professional, and the founder of JT's Ideation Center. I'm sorry if I butchered that word, where ideas go to prosper, not to die, but to prosper. She believes in the power of crazy ideas, bold moves, and paying kindness forward. Julia works for Penn Medicine Development and Alumni Relations at the University of Pennsylvania and resides in Philadelphia. So let me bring on today's genie, Julia Towers. How are you doing, Julia?
Doing really well, Paul. It's been a life dream to be a genie, so thank you for fulfilling that one for me.
You're very welcome, and I think we will, at the end of this, be thanking you for being the genie. So we're going to be having a two-way street on that, which is always nice. So yeah, I mean, that sounds fantastic what you're doing. So tell us a little bit more.
You kind of hit the nail on the head there as far as reciprocal relations, right? And what collaboration looks like when you go into it with a yes and mindset. When you're really supporting yourself and your partner, you can create a sense of possibility, and you can really work through all sorts of those possibilities, right? So one idea can very easily become 20, and then with the right filters and other things in place, we'll distill down and find the right idea for you, the company, the time, what have you.
I love that. And, you know, collaboration, isn't it such a wonderful feeling to be bouncing ideas around, and it just sort of comes back with greater and greater sort of ideas and interest on it.
And Paul, I think like you're a person that understands that and knows what that feeling is, but I don't believe a lot of people have experienced that especially in the working world. We really are driven off of hierarchies when we come into these rooms that are supposed to be collaborative and brainstorming. A lot of times we're looking up at, who's the person that's the highest of the highest position at the table. And we're looking at them for direction, and then sort of, using our ideas going off of what they've already put forward, afraid to sort of voice our own. And sometimes that's, it's conditioned and it's accepted. And I've seen it many times where when somebody does venture out and put something out there that might feel a little crazy or be a little off theme or sort of a different direction, that they get shot down. So, to really feel what it's like to be in that collaborative flow and be creating something with your partners that's organically alive and happening in the moment. I live for that personally, and I'd love to see more people feel it inside of themselves, because it unlocks this sense of possibility and an empowerment of self.
You're absolutely right, and it's a fantastic point. And somebody is always up there with the marker on the flipboard, and it's kind of like everything has to go through that. So I get that, and I've been in similar situations, but I'm hoping that one of the good things going forward from the pandemic is going to be this more of an openness to accept different points of view. That's what I'd like. And anyway, hey, you're a genie, so people should just listen, because I'm struggling to find anything which can be possibly better.
All powerful genie.
There you go. So tell me, what was one of your aha moments, that sort of the moment where you suddenly sort of set yourself free of the lamp?
Yeah, so I'm going to take it back. I'm going to set you up.
Nice.
So I'm going to give you two little moments and then one big moment. So when I was 10-ish, young child, I loved movies, the magic of it, just storytelling in general. And for whatever the reason, Julia Roberts was a person that I just looked up to. I thought she was beautiful. She shared my name. I think I liked the fact that she was a little thicker. I mean, not that much thicker, but just she had a body that I could relate to, and she was tall. Anyways, so I had this idea in my head, oh my God, I'm going to be the next Julia Roberts. And it all came crashing down when I realized that the actors and actresses don't write their own lines, which sounds like you didn't know that, but as a child, I didn't. So when I discovered that, that dream just didn't seem as desirable. I realized autonomy is sort of my everything. And then when I got to college years at Temple, I went in knowing I wanted to be a part of that magic in some way. Communications route I was looking at, and I thought being a news broadcaster could be a great, blend of writing your own script and also being able to be up there performing and in front of the camera. Well, Paul, that lasted about 4 months, because I realized, Julia, you don't even like the news. So that's not going to work. So anyhow, I went on a whole, journey of trying to find different places within the production, post-production world, from being a director, a camera person, an editor, what have you. And I had this fantastic experience to study abroad in Sydney, Australia. And while I was there, I was working on set for Southern Star Broadcasting. And there's two gentlemen I definitely have to shout out because they made that possible for me. And that's Don Heller of Temple, who got me connected to Ross McGreeth of Sydney, Australia, who is the CFO of Southern Star Broadcasting. Now, a couple things. One of the big, this is part of the Genie Moment, just how quickly the two of them got in touch with each other, how easy they made it for me to, set up this internship, and how much I was really embraced by Ross and his whole family is incredible. So I got to work on two different TV sets, and I really got an array of seeing, being live on set, seeing all of the magic actually happening, getting to, sit in on the different departments. And it wasn't until I got to the writer's room that everything just lit up. And it was probably like 4 or 5 writers working on a TV script, just seeing how they were, that whole collaboration that I was talking about. And it was fun and it was lively. And I was like, yes, this is, and it, I was a junior at that time. So it felt so good to finally be able to be like, this is where I fit in the picture. Yeah.
That is amazing. And, I love the journey because, and first of all, Julia Roberts, everyone remembers her 1,000,000-watt smile. So, a great actress, and I'm sure she's watching. So thank you. Thank you for inspiring our current Genie. No, it's powerful, and what you always seem to have done is always kept within that creative environment.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Here's the truth of that, Paul. I think when you're somebody like me, whatever environment you're in, it's gonna be a creative one, because creativity isn't something that's outside of you. It's something that, you're eating, breathing, and living because you make a space for it within yourself. So, I've worked at Penn Medicine in development and alumni relations for the past 10 years, which, a lot of people would say you're in the wrong industry and this isn't creative and et cetera. And to some degrees, by all means, there's validity there. But my God, what I've learned and how many, science can be so stimulating and inspiring and creative. So I don't want to push back there, but I really think that it's not so much about finding creativity, but fostering it by creating environments that welcome it.
Awesome. You bring your creativity to the party effectively. Julia's brought a guest. It's her creativity. Everyone meet my creativity today.
Yes, and sometimes the higher ups are like, "Can we just less sprinkles?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, that's fair. Yeah, we don't need the rainbow bright today. That's okay."
No unicorns, not one in sight, please, today. So this is a very nice bridge then to the quote, having talked about creativity and sparkle. So what's one of your favorite quotes that sort of you motivates and you've really got behind?
So I have a poem more than a quote. Mm-hmm. And it came from a speech that I had to give in when I was in 7th grade, and I really don't know who it's by, so I apologize for that, but it's short. And it goes, "Heretic rebel, a thing." Wait. Okay, sorry, starting over. I have a poem, and it goes like this. "He drew a circle that shut me out, heretic rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle that drew him in."
Oh, that wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's that, yeah.
But the truth of the matter there, Paul, is I've been the person that's drawn the circle to shut somebody out, and I've been on the other side of that. So to really understand, for me, that perspective of what it's like to try to be inclusive and really harness a heart center, to come from the heart center and, use my influence, my power, myself, even when, it's not that strong we are recording that this can get deleted.
Don't you worry.
Okay, wait. Let me answer that when we're done. Paul, what I do believe with this and why it's sat with me for so long is I know what it's like to be on both sides of that. I've definitely been a person, and I think any human, if they're honest with themselves, has been where they've drawn that circle to shut somebody out. And even though it can be really empowering at that moment, and sometimes even necessary, that you have to get, that you're going to be a better person if you can get to a place of acceptance, forgiveness, understanding, empathy, all of those really big, words, but to not just have them be words, but to embody them is something. And when you can let go of the drawing dividing lines and let people in, it's a powerful thing. That all being said, I believe in boundaries. They're healthy things, but there's an underlining message there that it always sticks with me.
No, I love that. And, in a world where people want to draw lines all over the place, whether it be on a boundary, on a map, or between people, it's a very powerful message. So, I'm pretty sure that's going to really resonate with a lot of people. So Thank you very much for sharing that. That's wonderful. So, tell me, what are you working on at the moment? I'm sort of curious to see what your new creative talents are sort of dealing with at the moment.
So JT's Ideation Center is definitely in its infancy. So I'll be going to try to get funding to make it happen this year. One of the ideas that I'm showcasing, so right now I'm just working with myself to put stuff out there so people can see what this even looks like. It's called Name Your Hero series, which is going off of Joseph Campbell's book, The Hero with 1,000 Phases. And the plot points that got interpreted by Christopher Vogler. I probably said that name wrong, I'm sorry. The creator of The Matrix. And so what we're doing is going on a 12-week journey and figuring out what it looks like to really adapt a hero's mindset. Because what Joseph Campbell identified was that in all of these stories from mythology and religions and just stories from around the globe, that there's shared realities of every hero, that these different plot points are present in every story, and how empowering that is, because when you really distill it down, it means that you yourself are the hero of your own story. So I partnered up with my nephew, who's 9 years or 10 years old rather, and also some powerhouses from LinkedIn and from my personal network to sort of flesh out these ideas in different ways. So we did mythical improv. We have Colin Haynes from Australia, who's a financial broker and just really an incredible leader. And also everything I'm sort of, he would be like a 12 o'clock to my 6 o'clock, which I think is really powering to bring in that perspective and that strength of his body of work. So a little long-winded here, but the goal going forward is to distill this down into a program to bring to the youth. And also eventually to adults, because I think that we need to get a sense of agency and get on the offense. And when you really understand, that you are the hero of your own story and how to harness a hero mindset, then these big setbacks, such as a pandemic and not being able to go to school and see your friends and do a lot of the things that made my childhood extremely special, well, we can figure out how to get to that in a different way.
That's wonderful. And, you're absolutely right. You've touched on so many wonderful points. But, with the pandemic now, everyone thought it would be gone by now. And what's happened is, for example, all the people who graduated last year, they didn't have the ceremony. And there's a danger that it's going to have an impact on this coming year. So I think any initiative to sort of connect people to something which we at one stage took for granted is a very powerful thing. No, I love it. And
the other thing there is that, a part of all the stories, there's a supernatural element, right? There's nature in some way is folded in. So along with it connecting humanity, that we all share, this hero inside of ourselves and within our stories, that we're also living within Mother Earth, that, there is this natural world that we are working within and conversing with on a daily basis. And I do believe part of this pandemic is a wake-up call for us as humanity to start respecting that relationship much more.
I I couldn't agree with you more. It's kind of like Mother Earth going to the doctor and she says, I can tell you exactly what's wrong with you, humans. So yeah, you've got a bad case of humans.
So, it's not funny, but it's true.
Well, it's yeah. So sorry to put you off, oh great Genie. Now I come to the part of the show where I really enjoy this part. I get to call of three wishes from yourself. So here we go. So let's get your Genie on, because here we go. There it is. Wish number one. What was the best advice you have ever received in your life?
This is coming from a really special individual named Adam Kern, who's only 2 years older than me. And he read my novel, has been a part of, I spent a lot of time growing up with him in college in my early 20s, lived out with him in Park City. And he gave me this advice after reading the novel about, success leaves clues. So go out there, find the authors that you admire, buy them a cup of coffee, like get aggressive, but don't, again, it's that agency. Don't wait for somebody else to tell you that you're great, or, to listen too much to other people's advice. That success leaves clues, and that you can, go find that Hansel and Gretel trail and make it happen.
That's wonderful. And anyone who is in a state of having to change their direction, you're absolutely right. There's people who have done that, changed the direction, and as you say, follow the clues. I love it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well,
and it's also it's more powerful when it's coming from somebody that you also see have self-actualized, that their life is a testimony to what they're saying. No, right? Because then it gives it more impact, and he certainly is one of those. So
you're absolutely right. There's a lot of talking the talk, but you have to walk the walk. Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, well, okay, that's wonderful. I mean, goodness me, I think I'll just pack up my case now. But here we go. Now, wish number two. What advice would you give your younger self?
I would give my younger self advice to slow down, to really appreciate the time and space that she's in. My mom gave me this advice when I was 16, and I would just say it back to my 16-year-old self. But it's that, I was really, we were fighting, and I was sparring, and I was cocky, and I said something to her like, "You're just angry because you're not young and pretty, and you can't go out like I can. Like you're jealous," or something like this. Yeah, sparring words, spat them across the room. But the amazing thing about my mother is, instead of matching fire with fire, she got sad. And she took a moment to just think about it. And she came closer, held my hand, what have you, and just said, "Julia, I want you to understand something. High school is really hard. And I don't wish for a second that I was in your shoes now, because I've enjoyed every single journey, every single step along the way." And then she named, from marrying my dad, from being a legal secretary to having kids, every moment. And she said, "And I'm enjoying this moment right now." So I think for my younger self, I would definitely say, slow down, enjoy where you're at. And as far as the man thing goes, also, don't look so much for them to validate you, right? It's like understanding that law of attraction. I wish I would have had the access to that understanding a little bit earlier.
You're so right. And what amazing, I must admit, parenting was going on there. That's like a parent moment for anyone who's watching, because that's wonderful. But yeah, I mean, and I pick up on just on what you said at the last part there. People say, "Oh, he completes me," or "she completes me." That's nonsense. You're already whole. You don't need to look to the other person to fill in a gap which you perceive to be there.
Yeah.
No,
and it's just really hard when you come into your own as a woman. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot of different pressures to be sexy and attractive and all of these things. And I'm somebody that I believe in, a strong yin. Like I love women feeling pretty, like packaging it all together, the fashion. I mean, I'm not somebody to put a potato sack over my head or want everyone to just look the same. But I think that there's something to be said about, getting dressed, putting on your makeup, putting it together to become the best version of yourself, as opposed to dressing yourself up for that person or those type of guys.
You're absolutely right. I think everyone can remember a time when they put some really, whether it's going out, going to a formal thing, put something on like, I feel 110% confident, whatever it is, bring it on. So, and that's such and it's a really, it's one of the things I just forgot until you reminded me. So that's really wonderful. So yeah, it doesn't take a lot, does it? It's just a connection. That's lovely. Yeah, no, I love that. That's really, really good. And thank you for giving me a really nice memory on the way. So that's wonderful. So I'm going to move on to the third and final wish here. Can you share with us one habit which attributes to your success?
Surely. And this did not come easy. Took years to sort of, get to. But I would say embracing the silence. And what do I mean by that? It's really hard when you first put anything creative out there because you're putting out a bit of yourself and it's vulnerability. And so it's really hard when you send it off or you post it online or what have you, and nothing comes back. Now, equally in the corporate world, when you have different ideas or there's emails coming, I think that there's really something to be said about embracing the silence in the sense of taking the time to collect your thoughts, to thoughtfully understand what's being asked, what's needed. And instead of replying back instantly, which can sometimes, those replies can be 20 messages back and forth until we arrive at the end destination. I'd rather take my time, think it out, come back to you a day later, but get you to that end destination in a more efficient way.
No, I think you're right. I think there's this overwhelming need where people have to rush in and fill silence because they're scared of it.
Absolutely. I mean, and I understand why. I get it. It can definitely be scary. It's like sitting out there in the middle of the dark in the woods, and you don't know, which way's home or who's coming when. So it's definitely scary. But if you can't, there's a lot to be said of learning how to sit there, because you're going to be able to also refine your thought process and how you respond to things, and you get in touch with yourself in a way that you just can't if you're around other people, because those opinions that are coming at you, those projections, those what have you, are always going to be influencing your internal thought. So when things especially get really heated or bad, and again, I've failed many times in this, Paul. I have a lot of fire in me. So, but instead of taking the bait and throwing it back and getting in that heated argument, if you can step away, it's so powerful.
That's wonderful, and to be honest, fantastic, down to earth advice. And it's not something, as you said, it's not easy, but if you can do it, then you really keep your power. So yeah, no, I love it. So this brings me into sort of, well, what book at the moment, you already mentioned one of the books which started you off and inspired you. Is there a book which you're sort of reading at the moment, or something that's sort of memorable for you?
Yeah, and this is always a hard one for me, of course, because it's which one do you highlight? But I think for this conversation, I want to bring forward Ceremony by Leslie Silko, Leslie Marmon Silko, who is a Native American author. And this book was published in 1977. And again, going back to what we discussed earlier with Mother Earth and the pandemic, there's no better teachers, as far as I'm concerned, than Native Americans to really, dig in and understand an appreciation with Mother Earth, with nature, and a deeper understanding. It's not something that is outside of us. It's a living, breathing mechanism that's constantly, it's like our body, just on a larger global scale.
Yeah.
So I didn't do the best way of explaining that. I'm certainly not Native American myself, but the book covers a lot of key things, issues. There's mixed blood. So it's looking at what does it mean to be full blood Native American versus mixed blood. It's taking two brothers or cousins, I can't remember right now, who went off to war and experienced a whole lot of just, I like I said, I listened to that podcast of yours, and I know that you know about PTSD and what that really looks like when you come home, especially when you come home to a place that doesn't recognize you as a real full-fledged citizen. And the way that she captures, like in her writing, the way that she captures scenery and how nature plays into everything, it's just so beautifully done. But because many people probably won't read the book, the most powerful thing, I think, is that she's offering up an antidote. She's admitting that our ceremonies, as we know them in the Navajo tradition, are not enough anymore. That we, going forward, need to come up with new ceremonies, that they're going to look different, and that the ceremony is all about how to really heal that PTSD, those wounds that no doctor, no pill can touch. So that ceremony, it's not just one person ever. It's going to take a tribe. So I think it's really powerful, and I think people would get a lot from reading it.
That is awesome. And there's so much wisdom out there if people were simply to reach and take a book or do a course or whatever. So it does start with the individual, but there's plenty of gifts out there if people were just willing to reach for them. I love
a universe of abundance. That's
there
why I'm the
we go.
genie.
Yeah, well, indeed, and I hope hope that's going to stay with you all day. Look,
it's hard though to feel it. It's hard when you're, it's hard to feel it. But a universe of abundance, I think, is really, if you can remember that.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. No, it's awesome. Well, look. Where can we get hold of you? Where do you hang out? So if people want to sort of dig in and see your course and things like that and find out about you, where's the best place?
It's a great question. And it's not my best strong point here. I currently am only living on LinkedIn. I have a YouTube channel. I have a website that is almost there. And I have plans to venture out, but I'm looking for partners in progress. I'm looking for investors. I haven't been necessarily looking for the audience so much as I am for the collaboration and the partnership. So LinkedIn, definitely. I have a YouTube channel. Would love to give, my email. People feel free to contact me, but a little limited at this point.
That's fine. From small things, great things grow. So there's no problem with that. Well, look, Juliet, thank you very much for agreeing to appear as a guest today. I'm sure that people have got a lot out of from your perspective, your wisdom. And did you enjoy it today?
Paul, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And even tuning in last night and listening to that 60-minute podcast with you and Bobby Stein, my God, what an incredible story you and your family have. And I love being a part of something that I know is changing the world. So your commitment to impact and, also how fun you make it it's really, I appreciate that. So thank you so much for the invite. And I'm looking forward to, connecting further with you.
Perfect. Well, look, we're going to let you float off on your magic carpet into the Arabian sunset. Thank you once again. And we will catch up. And anyone here who wants to catch up and hang out with today's Genie, you know where to find her now. So thank you very much. Take care of yourselves.
Well, that's a wrap. You have been listening to yet another episode of the Release the Genie podcast with host Paul Rogers. Be sure to follow Paul on the LinkedIn platform and learn more of Paul's resources at www.takeactionacademy.ca. And until next time, as always, be mindful and be sure to release your genie. Thanks for listening.